All right, in this video I wanted to show how we can start taking a 3D object that we've made in Blender. This is from a previous video I made talking about how to take an SVG file and extrude it. And what I want to do now is start to maybe export this out as a PNG with a transparency so I can use that in a style frame, or also animate this and then export this for animation or like comping in After Effects. So here's the scene. Again, I've set this up. A few things I want to do before I get started. I want to go up to my preferences. I'm gonna under input, I've clicked this button, emulate numpad. If you have a full keyboard with a number pad, these are some nice keyboard shortcuts that you can use to get different views of your scene. If you don't have one, if you're on a laptop like I am, then turning this option on will allow you to hit those keyboard shortcuts. So I'm holding on the function button, and when I hit different numbers, I can see different views here. Like this is the front view, that's the side view. Yeah, and those are, I think, really important for me to start. This is like a top view. And this is the bottom, and those can help me figure out what's happening in the scene. If we want to see what this looks like with the material preview or the render preview, you can see this is what that looks like. It looks like I have a light and a camera up here. The light is kind of putting this into shadow, and maybe if I don't want that in shadow, I could go and move the light a little bit. So you can hit G to move the light, and then you're seeing that it's kind of turning, it's becoming illuminated. So maybe this is better for me. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind is if we wanted to render this out, like maybe I thought this is looking okay, and I went to go render the image, you're going to see the view has changed on this, and that's because we are looking through the. It's always going to be looking through this camera up here. So if you press this button here, you can toggle the camera view so you can see what the camera is seeing. So you can either adjust this inside of there, or you could actually even start to change this around. You can, maybe you want it like that, or if let's say you want it to be lower to the ground, you could, mess around with this and start to, get that set up. You can also, if you put your mouse outside of this area, this is the render region. If you hit G, you can kind of move things around, or I think R is going to allow you to rotate around here. So that could be helpful in you framing the shot. But a lot of times what I'll do is, or I could also click on that and hit G and then move it, maybe rotate it as well. Or I find that sometimes using this is a little bit easier. So for example, if I wanted to look kind of straight on, maybe it's something like this. And then I can preview what that looks like. All right, so that's looking okay. Maybe I want to bring this down a little bit and kind of, yes, just center it in the frame. Okay, so a few things, I guess, before we even get started to export this out. Number one, there's two render engines that you're probably going to use in Blender. One is Eevee, which is more of a real-time renderer. It's faster, it's not quite as detailed, and there's Cycles, which is going to be a little bit slower, but it's going to be a little higher quality. So that's up to you to choose which one you want to use. Maybe just for now, for speed, I'm just going to choose Eevee. Let's see, in here you can set the resolution of how big you want this to be. So it's 1920 by 1080, but I could always like shrink this down or change that in there. You have the aspect ratio, you have the number of frames. This is important once we start animating, but I'm going to do a still first. And yeah, if you want to see what it looks like, you can render it from here, and you can see it came out, the view from my camera. It has this gray background on it, and if you want to change that, you could go in here and change the color. If you knew that you wanted a color, I don't know, something like that. You're going to see that once I render this, it comes out with that background color. So that could be helpful. When you want to save this, you can just go to Save As and get that. Other things that you might want to look at is, the file type. When we want to export transparency, we want to make sure we have RGBA. The A stands for alpha. Let's see. And then when we want that transparency, we're going to go into this menu right here. This is the render properties. So you can add, this is where we pick the render engine. We're going to go under film and you're going to add transparent here. That has now put this checkered background in there, and that's going to be transparent. So let's render that one image, and then we can save this. We're going to open this up in Photoshop with the transparency, and you can see that that has come in like that. And so here, if I was doing a style frame, maybe I'd want to pick my own colors and start to change things this way. Yeah, this is handy, so you can really start to play with this and bring this in to your style frames. Okay, so now I'm gonna get this ready for animation. Again, I was saying that I could, look at the different views in here. Yeah, so just want to see what this looks like. What I want to do is take this, let me go back to, take this and maybe just have it rotate. And down here is the timeline. So here we're at frame 0. We can set this, maybe it doesn't need to be 250, maybe it just needs to be 180. And what we're going to do is select this object, go into the properties, that's in here, object properties, and let's see, we can start, maybe it's rotating this way. What we'll do is set a keyframe here. Now this is going to be the starting point of your animation, and then when we change this, let's say I set it to 360, and I'll press this again, you can see that it's going to automatically animate from there. If you press play, you should see it moving, or press spacebar. Okay, so we've added this animation, and this probably actually doesn't need to be this long. Maybe 140 is okay. All right, and so we're gonna go back into our settings up here. If we want to change the frame rate, you can change it here. I think 24 is okay, or 2997, depending on what you're animating in. And it's automatically changed this to 140. And then we'll just go into here and we'll say render animation. And you can see it's going a little slowly, but this is faster than it would go if it was in cycles. Okay, one thing I should go over actually, and I forgot about this. I currently set this to PNG. I kept it the way it was, and that's fine because we can import a PNG sequence into After Effects. But the thing I did incorrectly is I had this just export into this temp folder. I probably want to put this, choose its own folder so I can, go in here and change where this goes. If I click on this, I can see where the folder that's going to go into, and actually looks like I started bringing it into here, which is not great. So I would probably want to put this into a folder. Okay, I've opened up a new After Effects file, and I'm going to import those. The first thing is, let's say, the PNG sequence. Now, if you set this up so that it goes in numerical order. These came out as frame numbers, so the 140 frames. And then just check this PNG sequence. This is going to bring this in. It's going to create a comp, and you'll see that this has come in. Now the background for this, you can tell if I change the composition background, you'll see that it's transparent. Okay, so again, this came in transparent. Once you have something like this in After Effects, you could go and start comping on top of this. So maybe you want to put some type here. Maybe I'll just say Portland State University. Let me just go into here, and I think I can center this. Yeah, so this is centered in here. So you can go ahead and even animate this if you wanted to. Maybe we'll just do animate some tracking. Add some easing in here. Start to play with this a little bit. If we want to put another background, we can do that. Maybe it's kind of like a blue. I'm just gonna push it behind this. That might be a little bit too dark. Maybe something like this. And then once you have this too, you could also, if you don't like the timing of this, you can enable time remapping. And let's say I want this to be faster, I could just pull this. This is like the end of that animation, and now you'll see it's going to go a lot faster. But you could also, add more keyframes in here and maybe stretch and pull this. That's starting to have like a little bit of a different feel, and you can also select these and add some easing on them, and even start to play with the speed. So obviously you could re-render this out of Blender, but sometimes it's nice to have everything together like this. So this is just a quick example of what you might do once you have your 3D assets in After Effects. Now, my advice is to use a PNG sequence or a TIFF sequence when you're animating out of Blender. It just works better in After Effects. There's sometimes some issues with the exporting a video and bringing it into After Effects. I've gotten it to work with Premiere, but sometimes After Effects can't really read the file and can't really bring it in correctly. And the reason also why we want to do a sequence, an image sequence, is if the render fails or something, you don't have to start from the very beginning. You can find where the render failed and then start rendering from that frame onwards. So it could potentially save you a lot of time. If you try to render a video and it fails, then you've lost the whole video. It's not really going to work. The other thing I could do is set this up to export as a video. Now, a few things to do here is you want to choose FFmpeg video. Under encoding, you want this to be set to QuickTime. And then under video codec, you want this to also, be set up to here, to QuickTime. And that's because these file formats or these codecs have that transparency ability. Something like H.264 doesn't have that. So we could set that up, and again, I probably want to choose where this goes. So I picked that folder. When you export this out as video, you do want to make sure that you check this RGBA. I just did it, and I think it defaulted to this, but make sure this is checked. And just render it out again. Now, if you do have a QuickTime video that you've taken out of Blender, you can work with it in Premiere. I think this is because Premiere is able to play different file formats a little bit better. So to show you what I mean, you could, I've just imported the footage, and I'll make a new sequence out of here. And it looks like it's a black background, but actually if I do something like put a color background behind this, like a color matte, I just want to create a new bin first to hold this. Bring this under here, you can see that it does have a transparency. So if you had some video footage and you wanted to lay this 3D footage over the top, this might be something you could do. So for example, this is just a still image in the background, but you could put video footage back there. So this is a way to incorporate a 3D animated graphic from Blender and bring it into Premiere. Again, this is an Adobe Premiere. Sometimes the footage coming from Blender the video footage won't work in After Effects. But I think using an image sequence like a PNG or TIFF sequence is probably the best way to go. So that was just a quick introduction to exporting animations from Blender with an alpha channel, with transparency. Obviously, there's a lot more you could do with making the animation more complex, changing the lighting so it's better, working with textures, but this is just a starting or an introduction to this process.